Hi, this is Bruce. The title Know Your Enemy may be just a little bit dramatic, and I want to emphasize the fact that the program faculty are not your enemy. The enemy is the person you see in the mirror, okay? The enemy is the little voice in your head that tells you that you're not good enough, that you can't do this. The way you get rid of your enemy is to know they're there and to overwhelm them with preparation, and that's what this little video is about. The faculty is picking a team of people that will work together and help one another to accomplish the main mission of the PA program, and that is to train people who once were college students and who have some medical experience to be physician's assistants, and to train them well enough that all of them pass the test called the PANCE, capital P, capital A, capital N, capital C, capital E, on their first try. 93% I think is the national average. I think I've got that in here somewhere. But they want everyone to pass. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about an ancient Chinese guy here. Here he is, Sun Tzu. There's a book, called The Art of War or something like that. And it actually wasn't written by Sun Tzu. He compiled it and put it on a bunch of scrolls. But there's one thing that Sun Tzu recommends above all others. He has all kinds of things for when this one thing doesn't work. But the one thing that he wants every great military leader, and now business people are using this, and I'm using this to help pre-PA students, is foreknowledge. Sun Tzu says foreknowledge enables the good general to achieve things beyond the reach of ordinary men. So Sun Tzu believed in spies. He believed that you got your best information from other people. He believed in paying off people in the enemy's camp to tell him what he needed to know, so he created traitors over there. But the point is that information allowed him to judge the leaders whom he might have to do battle against. And by having that information, he could be better prepared and avoid war altogether. Well, you want to go and engage these people in a conversation. You want to be invited for an interview. And when you get there, you want to be prepared with foreknowledge, with intelligence. You want to know. Okay? And these are things that you should know about every program before you ever apply to them. And when you go to interview, you need to know who you're going to meet. What do they do professionally? You need to know about the mission statements before you apply, when you interview. Let's look at 4 mission statements. There are some things in red that I want you to emphasize. So let's just emphasize those. You can stop the slide and read these mission statements. You can go to the program websites and read them. But you see here, primary care, evidence-based medicine, culturally sensitive, and you see healthcare system. These are buzzwords that are used. You may want to look these up. You want to write your own definition to them. You want to be prepared to talk about them. So you're going to need to know a little bit about healthcare systems in general. Maybe a little bit about how some other healthcare systems, just a little. You don't need to know a lot. You can just tell them, I don't know much. This is what I've read, and this is what I think about what I know about the 2 healthcare systems, ours and theirs, because you may get some questions about that. But you want to know what Duke's mission is if you're going to interview and if you're going to apply to it and hope to interview at Duke. Here's Campbell, another program, healthcare delivery system, evidence-based medicine. They have some other things in here that are unique to them. They're a Christian-based college or university now. So, they mention faith, learning, and service. You don't have to go to church, and you don't have to go to the same church that funds this university, but you better know that they're a Christian organization, okay? I think that if you're Hindu, atheist, Muslim, or something else, you can still get in here. It's not that they won't take you. They're not rejecting people who are not Christians. But some of their money comes from a Christian-based organization. So it's a good thing to know. Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I think, is pretty interesting because they say right out front they want you to provide quality health care to the citizens of Oklahoma. So if you really, really, really never intend to live in Oklahoma or are completely opposed to it, it's probably not a program to apply to. Okay, rural and underserved populations, those things are important. Primary care medicine you see mentioned here. Here's Midwestern, a program from Illinois. Diverse populations, primary care, evidence-based medicine. I like that they talk about commitment to lifelong learning. That's something you're going to want to be prepared to talk about because that's something that PAs have to do. Community involvement as a healthcare provider, leadership on Duke's site. Point is that they want you to be a person who is involved with people. Okay, they're looking for that. Competence and compassion are personality characteristics that are developed before you ever get to where you're going. They can't teach you that in PA school. It's something that you've already developed. All right, so there's a primary essay with CASPA. Most programs have a supplemental essay. Most of them have you submit that online. Some of them have you write it there when they invite you to be for the interview. I can tell you that they're looking at your GRE writing scores and your essays, and that they kind of are making a list and checking it twice, going to find out who's naughty and nice, as the song goes. Don't have someone else write your essay. Have them look it over. Have them help you, but you write it your way in your words. Okay? Just they can help you pick your words. But you can see that buzzwords in red were primary care, evidence-based medicine. Okay? What's evidence-based medicine? Read this. Stop me from talking. Stop me from advancing the slide. Read it. Go get the PDF in the membership site, or if you're a beta tester on the site that I provided for you to access this. Scroll halfway down on page 1. Read about evidence-based medicine. What is primary care? All right, day-to-day health care. First person that someone comes to for their day-to-day, and they can be a lot of different people, but physician assistant is one of the main ones. Okay, and then when you see someone as a primary care provider, if you can't finish the job, if it's more than a sore throat, if they've got a tumor in their right upper lobe that you find on a chest x-ray when they came in complaining of cough and weight loss and some nighttime sweats for the last 6 weeks, then you're going to need to send them to a secondary or tertiary care center. All right, so there are two very, very important questions. And one of them is, why do you want to be a PA? You answer that in 600 words for CASPA, but be sure that you have a 15 or 20 second statement you can make, and if they ask you some further questions, 15 seconds of clarification. You need to be able to say that cold bang. Why do you want to be a PA? I want to be a PA. You should even say that because blah, 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 blah. Bang. Don't use any extraneous words. All action words. All right. Supplemental app. Why do you want to train here is the usual question. From those applications, you should be able to extract some sound bites. Those sound bites should have been purposely placed to because you read the mission statements and they were to make your essay congruent with the mission statement. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Primary care, healthcare delivery system, underserved populations, culturally competent. Okay? So let's review what a soundbite is. It's an important point you want to reinforce, right? Read this over. I'm just being quiet for a second. All right, so you have to have sound bites ready. You have to know it cold. Okay, you have to know what you want to say. Not exactly what you want to say, but generally what you want to say, and you want to be able to use that So I'm going to advance here and give you one example of a soundbite. All right, so this came from a real life example of someone who shadowed me for a day and then wanted to know about essays and things like that. We were talking about how to write the essay. This person was a lab tech in microbiology, very, very competent, sharp person. This person was also shadowing an infectious disease doc. Okay, makes sense, you know. A lot of access to infectious disease docs, talks to them all the time. So the lab tech here had received samples taken from a patient who had a central line, which means a line in the blood vessels. In this case, it was actually to an artificial heart pump called a VAD. One of the lines was infected. They needed to identify the bacteria because this bacteria was going to kill this person. The lab tech was able to identify the bacteria and identify antibiotics that would kill that bacteria. Inform the doc, save the patient's life. Later on is shadowing with a doc, and this patient comes back in healthy from the perspective of they don't have an infection in their VAD line anymore. Okay? It's a vascular assist device if you want to know what VAD stands for. All right. After seeing this patient, it solidified in the lab tech's mind why they wanted to be a PA. They wanted more clinical involvement. You see it there in green. They wanted a shorter pathway. You see that in green. That's the soundbite. I wanted more clinical involvement and a shorter pathway. That's why I wanted to be a PA. Okay, they're answering that question. Now, how about a soundbite like this? Okay, you've emphasized the fact that primary care, being the first person in line, is something you want to be. And they ask you a question like, what kind of cookie would you be and why? You know, a lot of people say, oh, what the, you know, why do they ask me such a question? And manner. They want to see if you can use your imagination. They want to see how you act in a stressful situation when you're asked something really off the wall. Because I got news for you. These things are going to happen in real life. So, here's something that I said you could say, okay? You could say, I would be the best tasting, high fiber, high protein cookie ever given to an underfed inner city child. Like I said in my essay, I like Oklahoma's mission of creating primary care providers for the underserved. I want to be one of them. If I have to do it as a cookie, then I want to be so good the child will want it, even though it's good for them. Okay? You see? Who's going to say that if they aren't prepared? If you know, and you need to be prepared to answer this. What kind of tree would you be? What kind of animal would you be? You know, who would you ask to eat dinner with you from all of history? You know, people say all kinds of different things, but I always tell my people who ask me, you know, what should I say? Say what you want, but make sure that one of them is Eugene Stead. Do you know who Eugene Stead is? If you don't, you need to look him up on the PA history site. All right, those are sound bites. Okay. You can play around with this, but if you don't have some sound bites prepared, if you haven't thought about them, said them out loud, videotaped yourself, bounced them off your friends, then you're not going to be prepared, because you can't be thinking, oh, I need to say this. You just have to know that you can say it, and you have to know when's the right time. So you have to be paying attention, not trying to force it into the conversation. All right, here are about, I don't know, 5 slides or so on get to know your faculty. Basically, you get an interview, you need to look up every faculty member. All right, and you need to know who they are. I'm big into printing out a picture and some questions, writing up some questions, putting that on a card, reviewing those. So let's just take a look at Midwestern, okay, out in Illinois. Good program. Here's a guy that in 2011 got a National Teaching Award from the PAEA. He was the new faculty award for professional excellence. That's what he received. Now, if he interviews you and says, do you have any questions, say, how did you receive this award? Why, and why do you think you received it? All right, you want to be able to ask him that. If you don't get to meet him, But you meet students, you'd say, hey, what about James Gunn? You know, I saw that he got this award in 2011. What kind of guy is he? You know, I saw his picture on the website. He hardly looks old enough to shave. What's it like to be in his class? I would ask those kinds of questions about this guy. And I would know about this guy if I was interviewing at Northwestern. All right? All right, so here, you know, I stole my thunder from faculty slide number 2, all right? So let's just jump on to faculty slide number 3. All right, here's another guy, David Luce, okay? He did some research about what that he wrote about these standardized patients. If you were to interview there, same thing with him. You can ask him about his stuff, about his publication. You can ask students what was he like that you'd heard he'd published, you know, and how do they use those standardized patient tutors, you know, in their program, and what about Mr. Luce? Is he involved with that? And what kind of a teacher is he? What do they think, you know? All right, so just like I said, create a card, engage all these senses. Very, very important that you do that. Last slide on Know the Faculty. You know, there are different kinds of faculty members, and that's what I mean about know their stuff. I work with people who are full-time faculty who work with us 1 day a week as part of their clinical obligations. I also work with people who work with me 5 days a week, but who take days off and go and teach at various PA programs. They teach specific items about specific systems, and you know, they're kind of a guest lecturer. So you might, knowing that, you might ask, do you have people who lecture you who are not on the faculty? People who participate with you are not on the faculty. Lots of times they have small group sessions, and they have PAs, usually graduates of the program, who are in the area, who come back and kind of have discussions with students about different kinds of problems that they encounter. So you know these things and develop some questions about them. The most important thing for you to know is that if you don't ask questions, they think you're not interested and they downgrade their interest in you. You got to have some questions about the PA program. Here are some examples of some things that you should ask students that you might want to ask faculty. If you don't know anything about them, pick some areas about the program that you want to ask about and ask them about those things. Here's a profile of the class. I'm pretty sure this is from Midwestern. Here you could pull some data out of here, compare it to other programs, and you know, they're 86% female. You know, that's kind of a trend nationally. Their class size is 86, so they have a big program. How do they get all these people trained? I don't know if they have a medical school associated with them. So, you know, how do they find rotations for everybody? You know, what's the acceptance? Their people are doing okay. You know, how are their people doing with jobs? And, you know, do they get a lot of, how many job offers does every new graduate receive, you know, on average? They don't publish those, but they know about them. Here's more question material, again, taken from the Midwestern site. Why do professors or faculty members think that PA jobs are going to increase by 38%? Do they think most of them are going to be in primary care, or are they going to be split? Are they going to follow kind of the percentages of PAs in specialty versus primary care now? Why do you think that is? Or do you think more of them are going to be in primary care? Ask them questions. All right. The most important thing is don't depend on your memory, and don't depend on just seeing it and doing it once. Keep your materials together for each site. You know, make a dedicated folder. Practice so you're not over-scripted. Have some ideas about how you would answer some of these questions, how you'd work in some sound bites, things that you want them to know about you. There was a gal I talked to once who told me a story that I loved. She was running in a national race. No, excuse me, she was running in a state level race She was a champion. She intended to repeat as champion. While she's running this race, and I think it was a cross-country race, her period started. She didn't expect it, so I guess she wasn't on birth control. And it started during the race. You know, she knew it was happening, and she knew that she flowed pretty heavy on the first day. She just ran through it. She told me that when she got to the finish line, she looked like she'd been butchering hogs in her clothes. And she just ran on into the locker room, grabbed some clothes, changed clothes, and ran back out. Did it really fast. But the point is everybody saw that. Everybody saw her finish. Everybody saw her repeat as champion. You know, I loved that story. Now, maybe you're grossed out. I don't know. But what I loved about it is that this person was focused. That would be a story I'd want to tell. Or it would be a story I already told about myself. And I would say, you know, that story that I told in my essay about the race, you know, and I would work that into the conversation somehow. But you got to practice. If you don't practice, then it's going to sound like you're forcing it. Don't force it. Just get ready. And I'm hoping that I've introduced you to some new ways to get ready. You know, it's been my pleasure.